Morning, folks. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training. I'm up early this morning to head to my scenario-based police dog training location I go to out with a group of guys that work police type scenario-based type training from being around law enforcement, etc. So it's a civilian class, but it's very keenly orientated towards the same way you would build a police dog. When they do things in the scenario-based, where they have conflict, argument, they have altercations and interaction that's based on scenario, and they let the dog figure it out. So a good example of that, last week we did a car apprehension where the dog will go in and bite the bad guy in the car, and they have you send the dog, and you've got to stand way back because they want the dog to learn on his own. You know, you're not in the traditional way of doing things. When I build protection, I always want to build confidence, and I keep the dog on a leash next to me, and then he gets to be out in front of me 6 foot, but he always knows that I'm right behind him, right? And in this stuff, they usually import dogs over from Europe, anywhere from 15 to 24 months of age, maybe a little bit older, but not much. And that being the case, the dogs have already been through all the preliminary base work dog training that they do in sport, right? In either in schützen and bite work, and they're going after that. But the development is very similar in all sports in a lot of ways. Well, ring sport, you're doing legs, so it's a different build. But we always have the handler right there holding the dog, and a lot of other techniques, but it's not as much like when they get older, and then now they're at a police dog training facility. They're older, they've already been through all that development training, they should have the confidence to do the job to a basic degree. So they do a lot of getting the dog to learn on his own by sending him out forward and you not being around him. And that's always been a problem with me when I go out there, because I'm so used to giving my dog support. I'm so used to dealing with civilian and really building some dogs that are weak, you know, and you know how to have the tricks to build a weak dog that doesn't maybe have that genetic stamp that's so strong, you know. A regular pet quality customer that comes to you that wants to do protection with their dog, you've got to try to bring that dog out and get the dog to have confidence. So we always have a lot of different things that we do in that regards. But with police dog training, they send the dog out and the dog learns from scenarios and learns on his own, with some separation from the handler, so that the dog gets the confidence on his own. So back to my whole thing. So I send Joker out. It's going to be a 3-bite series, which is pretty cool too. You don't see this that often. Dog got to go out and bite the passenger. So you give him instructions, say, hey, you've got to come out with your hands up. You don't come out, I'm going to send the dog. You send the dog. The dog goes in and bites that first bite, and then the gentleman that was doing the bite work in the driver's seat has a passenger, and the passenger took off out of the other side. So I got to out my dog, get my dog, come back to me, and go after the bad guy. All right, boom, he's after that bad guy. Oh my God, there's a guy coming in behind me, and he's attacking me. And now I got to out my dog again, and I got to get him to come back and take that third bite. That's the thing that's kind of cool about this stuff, because one, they've got enough decoys to do it, and two, they have the orientation in their headset and their whole way of doing trainings over the years. These guys have been doing training 20, 30 years, probably longer, law enforcement, and they've built dogs with that mental attitude of scenario-based build of a protection dog. And again, they're taking dogs that are mature, that have already been through all that groundwork as puppies and been through all that puppy development. And so by this time, they should have the confidence to be able to go out and do the job and then learn from their experiences. So one of the routines that they did was they teach a bark and hold. The way they teach is they have the dog go out and bark at the door. And the bad guy's behind the door. It's kind of like a little outhouse. He goes in, he's got a little area to hide and close the door right there. So then he creates a little bit of noise to get the dog stimulated. The idea is to get the dog to bark, and he barks enough, bark, 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 boom, the guy pops open the door and takes his bite. So again, that's the way they teach. So there's a scenario that basically that the dog's learning from his experiences, which is very, very cool. You know, but most sport dog trainers, when they're doing schützen and they're doing other things, teaching the dogs routines in the sports, they don't get into that scenario-based stuff where they're doing bites into vehicles and bites into buildings, and so that the training base sport is a lot more oriented to how they would build a police dog. And that's really cool that I get to put that in my mix by being able to go out here on the weekends and work my dog. And that's one of the good things that I feel in my world anyway, when I build a dog, having the connections I have, being able to go to different decoys and get different work is really a neat thing, because I'll see something I like and I'll get an accent on it. I can center on it, right, when I go to that individual. There's another trainer up here, an African-American kid that's doing real good with his business, John Anthony, with Redemption Road Canine. And he's got a nice targeting table. The table's really straight, it's a little high up, about 4 or 5 feet off the ground, with a nice chute. And then they do their bite work on the very end, and they build bite with a bungee, letting the dog go into a bungee and have to keep a good bite, because that pressure's on him, pulling him backwards. And he accents this within his training program, because this is something he's built to, every trainer has little accent points that they put out that makes it a very advantageous thing to get around other people to see. And you may not put the whole thing, I'm not going to build a target table like that for myself, but at the same time, I'll go down and go to his place once a month or so, maybe more, depending. And John's got a lot of good little things that he does. He's got some therapy stuff that I'd like to get into. He's more into the physical aspects of building his dogs for physical health and just like an athlete, right? And that comes from his background of having his family that's football players and other things that he's been around, and being in the sports and that kind of thing. Most of the stuff that we do with the dogs, we get from our human aspect of things, right? The balancing, the planking, and all that stuff that we talk about when I'm talking about doing the stretching that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to see if I can get some stuff put together that I can show you this. But I might go over to John's and get him to help me accent it. We might do a special with John and get him to show it to us. So, all right, I'll let you go. I'm half asleep, about 6:30 in the morning. My tired eyes, my hair's not even hardly combed. I'm headed out. So this is what we do as a professional dog trainer. We eat, breathe, and sleep it. If you notice my videos, I'm doing this stuff 7 days a week. I don't have any rest. I don't have really many days off. My days off are doing what I love to do. So that being the case, it's a fun thing. I'll talk to you guys later. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training, yakking at the screen. I'm away out to train some dogs. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.